Discover the incredible journey of a ball girl, hidden love and life-changing fate revealed. The summer sun dipped low over Maplewood, casting golden rays across the buzzing ballpark. Tonight was special. It was the Eagles' big game. Lily Thompson, only 16, rushed around the field, grabbing baseballs tossed her way like a whirlwind of energy and hope. Each time she caught a ball, she felt closer to her dreams, like a spark igniting deep within her. The crack of the bat echoed, and she tossed the ball back, feeling the weight of possibility in her hands. Through summer evenings, she had found not only an escape but also a purpose, helping her single mother make ends meet while keeping her passion alive. With every cheer from the stands, her heart raced not just for the game, but for Jake Thompson, the star pitcher whose charisma captivated the entire town. Beneath his charming smile and powerful throws lay an undercurrent of doubt, shadows cast by whispers of his troubled upbringing that seeped into the hearts of Maplewood's folks. They didn't see the flicker of talent. They only saw his family as struggles. She watched Jake on the mound, the air thick with tension, her hopes tangled with the weight of her responsibilities. Love for her mother and dreams of a brighter future pulled at her heartstrings. She wanted to break free from the cycle of hardship that cloaked her life. A chance to soar like the Eagles on the field was all she could dream of. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The game proceeded, with tight scores echoing hopes for victory. But as Jake stepped up for his game-winning pitch, everything changed in an instant. The ball flew from his hand, destined for glory, but something went horribly wrong. His face twisted in pain as he tumbled to the ground, the hopes of an entire town shattered with him. Gasps filled the air. The cheers turned into whispers, the once supportive crowd now judging and pointing with each passing moment. Lily's heart raced, but the beats felt heavier, like stones being tossed into a lake. She wanted to run to him, to hold him, and whisper that everything would be okay. But as Jake lay there, the reality of their positions sank in. Jake was no longer the promising star. He had become a cautionary tale in a town that thrived on gossip. Trouble clung to him like a haunting shadow, pulling him farther away, leaving her feeling torn. Amidst the swirling emotions and uncertainty of the night, Lily found herself in a bind. Could she stand by Jake, the boy who sparked her dreams, or would her loyalty to family outweigh her feelings? The crowd's deafening roar echoed in her mind, a reminder of expectations and the emotional journey merging and colliding in front of her. As Jake's eyes met hers from across the field, a question lingered, heavier than the night air. Could love cross the gap created by struggles, misunderstandings, and the burdens of their past? And as the clock ticked down on the championship game, both Lily and Jake faced uncertain futures, each moment a fragile thread connecting them to hope and perhaps to each other. As the game came to a standstill, a blanket of silence enveloped the field. From the stands, concerned faces twisted into frowns. Coaches dashed to Jake, and Lily's heart sank as the reality of the situation settled in like a heavy fog. She stood frozen, torn between rushing to him and the fear of adding to his shame. The weight of indecision pressed hard against her chest. A hush fell over the crowd. Only the sound of hurried whispers floated through the air. Lily could hear bits and pieces, people speculating, sharing their opinions marred by the undercurrent of judgment. Was this it for Jake? Would he fade from memory as just another? What could have been? Her gut twisted in response. The paramedics arrived. Each step they took felt like a countdown to an unknown future. Lily barely noticed when the announcer began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be pausing the game for medical assistance." The words echoed, a cruel reminder of how quickly dreams can be dashed. With her heart beating a mile a minute, she finally found herself walking slowly toward the field. Her legs felt like jelly, but something deeper urged her on. Jake needed her. She slipped past the line of concerned teammates and coaches, ignoring the way the crowd shifted its gaze, judging, doubting. When she reached him, Jake was being helped to sit up, a pained wince reflected on his face, each movement as if it was a reminder of the pressure he bore and the pain he now felt. Meeting his eyes, Lily felt a rush of warmth, an undeniable kinship despite the chasm of the moment. "Jake, I'm here," she said, breathless, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hey, Lily," he managed, his voice hoarse, yet carrying a flicker of that charming, boyish smile. Pain and confusion mixed intricately on his face, his vulnerability raw and real. "I'm so sorry. I didn't think, don't." "It's not your fault," he reassured her, though he seemed lost in a moment of his own. Her heart ached. She wanted to erase this moment, to take away the hurt etched in his brow. As they wrapped his arm in a makeshift bandage, the crowd began to murmur again, voices filled with speculation, each word slicing through her confidence. "He'll never recover. Seen his family? Always trouble," they said. A fire ignited in her chest. No matter the town's judgment, this was Jake, the boy with dreams that exceeded Maplewood's narrow views. She could see the fight in him, and that spark fueled her. "Jake, we'll work through this. You're not alone," she promised, echoing her thoughts out loud. But Jake's eyes dropped, sadness creeping over his features. "And what if I can't pitch again? What if that's it for me?" His voice shook with the tremors of doubt. The weight of those possibilities hit her hard. Lily reached for his hand, enveloping it within her own. "You will pitch again. You have to believe that." As they sat there, the world around them blurred. The pain in his leg and the hurt from the crowd fell away for a moment, replaced by an unspoken connection. "I need you to be there, Lily." But his voice faltered, barely above a whisper. "Do you really think you can bear it?" Doubt mingled with determination, and she took a deep breath, feeling the emotions swell inside her. The promise of hope wrapped around them. "I won't back down. I'll be here no matter what." But in the chaos of the moment, just as comfort began to weave their hearts, a distant shout caught her attention. A familiar voice echoed, sharp and accusatory. "What are you doing here with him, Lily? Are you really going to throw away your future?" As that harsh reality crashed down, Lily's chest tightened again. Could she stand by the boy everyone doubted? The answer felt like a powerful wave threatening to pull her under. Before she could think more, the decision loomed, a turning point that could change everything she held dear. How could she balance her dreams with her heart's deepest desire? Would she choose to be the girl who stood by Jake or the one who followed the safe path? The game was halted indefinitely, but for Lily, the real game was just beginning. What lay ahead felt uncertain, yet exhilarating. The choice she made now would shape their destinies forever, and the clock was ticking. Lily's heart thudded in her chest, the angry voice echoing in her mind as the noises of the crowd faded into a low hum. She looked around, feeling every gaze prick into her skin like 1,000 needles. There, standing at the edge of the stands, was Sarah, her best friend since childhood, arms crossed, lips pursed. The betrayal in her expression cut deeper than any pain Jake felt. "Sarah, please," Lily pleaded, her voice trembling. She still held Jake's hand, the warmth of his fingers grounding her amidst the storm of emotions swirling around her. Jake looked up, his brow furrowed, clearly caught in the same tumult. "Don't, Lily," Sarah snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut through the lingering worry in the air. "You can't throw everything away for him. You're heading off to college soon. He's a jock and he gets hurt all the time. This is a toxic situation. That's not fair." "You don't know him," Lily protested, feeling the words catch in her throat. "He's more than just a jock to me." Releasing her hold on Jake for just a moment, Lily stepped towards Sarah, the crowd's whispers rising again. "He needs me, Sarah. I can't turn my back on him." Sarah scoffed, her eyes rolling dismissively, yet a flicker of concern crossed her face. "And what about you? What if he drags you down with him? You're so focused on helping him that you're forgetting what you want." Maybe what I want is to stand by someone who needs me, Lily shot back, the words fueled by desperation. You think it's easy to ignore him when everyone believes he has done? Jake shifted behind her, the bandage around his arm tightening, a reminder that he wasn't just struggling against the weight of others' opinions, but fighting for a chance at the life he envisioned. Lily, it's okay, he said softly, his voice cracking under the pressure of uncertainty. You don't have to defend me. But she wouldn't relent. No, it's not okay, she shouted, spinning back to him. You deserve someone who believes in you. The paramedics finished wrapping his arm, and Jake's eyes searched hers, vulnerable and questioning. In that moment, Lily felt herself teetering between the comfort of friendship and the exhilaration of uncharted territory, one that had her heart racing. What if Jake paused, steadying his breath? What if I can't even pitch again? What happens if I'm just a memory? The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. She watched as insecurity flickered across his face, and the resolve melted away like snow in sunlight. Lily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all her decisions pressing on her chest. No. You're more than that. You're Jake. You're not just some guy on the field. You're the one who never gave up on anything. His eyes lit up for a moment, a spark of hope pushing through the gloom. But just as quickly, it faltered with reality's return, a reminder of the audience, of their dreams, and of the doubts that surrounded them. I don't know how this will end, she confessed, stepping closer, embedding the warmth of her presence against his turmoil. But I want to let others dictate who you are or what you can be. She turned back to Sarah, who stood staring, her expression morphing into a conflicted flash of uncertainty and concern. Do you get it now? Lily challenged. It's about more than one game or one bad moment. It's about who we become when everything feels lost. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, and for a fleeting moment, the world around them quieted, narrowing down to just 3 people caught in a whirlwind of aspirations, fears, and burgeoning love. In the distance, a horn blew, signaling the end of the timeout, and the game would soon resume, whatever it meant for Jake. It was a gentle nudge toward the uncertainty of the moment ahead. But something shifted within those heartbeats. As the weight of expectations pressed in, Lily realized no matter how hard it became, no matter what loomed in the air, she would never abandon Jake. Are you ready for this next step? She whispered, uncertainty revolving in her heart and hope dancing on the edges. And as she settled back beside him, a shared look of determination ignited the space between. Maybe, just maybe, they could redefine what was possible together. But the loud roar of the crowd suddenly interrupted everything, causing a surge of anxiety to flood through Jake's veins. Lily, I'm not sure I can. Before he could finish, a shadow fell over them. What does this mean for you two? A reporter's voice rang out, pushing the borders of their private moments squarely into the public eye. With every camera flash and every camera lens focused on their connection, a new chapter was about to unfold in ways neither of them could have imagined. Will they embrace the chaos, or will it tear them apart? Lily's breath caught in her throat as the reporter's question hung heavily in the air. The world around them surged with noise, but in that moment, everything felt like it had collapsed into a single, unbearable focus on her and Jake. The thrumming crowd faded into a distant buzz as adrenaline surged through her veins, igniting an impulse deep within her. What do you mean? Jake's voice was barely above a whisper, laced with confusion and fear. The sincerity in his eyes cut through the chaos, reminding her of what was truly at stake. Lily stepped forward. We're just friends, she replied, the words tumbling out almost instinctively. Was it a defense? A shield against the scrutiny? She wasn't sure. But with every flash of the cameras, she felt the weight of uncharted terrain pressing down on her. Just friends? Sarah interjected, disbelief etched across her features. Really, Lily? You're telling me that that's all this is? A flicker of hurt ignited inside Lily. Did Sarah really think that? The feelings blooming between her and Jake weren't something she could easily dismiss. But revealing that vulnerability in front of everyone felt perilous. She started, then paused. The world spun around them, filled with eager spectators waiting for the next big scoop. She stole a glance at Jake, whose expression mirrored her own uncertainty, and realized she needed to speak, not just for the crowd, but for them. "Jake is more than just a player on a team," she said, her voice stronger now, fueled by conviction. "He is brave. He is passionate. It's not about what people think or the games they play. It's about who he is beneath all of that." The crowd responded, the murmurs rising like the tide. A moment of silence passed before a few low cheers broke out, a small show of support against the backdrop of doubt. "Are you saying you'd stand by him no matter what?" the reporter pushed, eyes gleaming with the potential for dramatics. "Yes," Lily breathed, conviction flooding her voice. "Yes, I would." Jake's expression softened. An unexpected blend of hope and astonishment flickered across his face. For the first time, she saw a glimmer of the resilience he always showed on the field, but hadn't he realized he was capable of off it? "Wow," Jake murmured, stunned by her words. "Lily, really?" "Yes, really," she insisted, turning to him with urgency. "You're not defined by a moment or a game. You're so much more than that." A spark ignited in Jake's eyes, a glint that reminded her of the nights they practiced and shared dreams, both written in sketches and unspoken in the pauses. The fear seemed to dissipate beneath the weight of their shared determination. But then, with a swift turn, the reporter shot back, "And what if he can't return to the field? What happens then?" Lily's heart sank. She hated that question. The truth was heavy and looming, but avoiding it wouldn't help. "Then we'll find a way forward together," she declared, each word punctuated by the pounding of her heart, a quiet promise of loyalty and understanding. Jake reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly, finding strength in their connection among the tide of people. Unsure of what lay ahead, he simply said, "Then let us do it together." The surge of support from the crowd intensified, but she noticed Sarah's conflicted expression. It was a flicker that made Lily pause. She felt the weight of both friendship and the potential fracture of it. "Lily," Sarah finally said, her voice breaking through the noise. "Just think about it. You're risking everything." "I know," she replied, tasting the bitter truth. But the spark in her heart couldn't be dimmed. The game resumed, the sound of the whistle punctuating a new beginning, yet the tension remained thick in the air. As they continued to hold each other's gaze, a new understanding silently formed. It wasn't just about what came next on the field. It was about the journey they would take together, no matter how rocky the path might be. But, as the game continued, a new figure appeared at the edge of the stands, one the pair hadn't seen coming. Lily's heart raced again, but not in excitement. This was someone whose presence could alter everything, and they were headed straight for them. "Jake, I think we need to brace ourselves," Lily whispered, watching the newcomer approach with a determined stride. What could this all mean? The crowd's chatter faded into a dull roar as the unfamiliar figure drew closer. Lily's eyes widened. She could barely breathe, the weight of expectation hanging in the air like a heavy fog. This person was not just any spectator. They were too familiar, too significant. "Is that?" Jake started, squinting to get a better look. "Yeah," Lily breathed, her heart pounding against her chest. "It's Chris. My brother." As he neared, his brow furrowed, concern etched into the lines of his face. It wasn't often Chris attended games, and when he did, it was always to check on her. This time, however, something felt different. A wave of unease washed over her. "Lily!" Chris shouted, weaving through the throng. The weight of a million eyes turned towards him, and suddenly, it felt like their little world was about to get invaded. Panicked whispers scattered through the crowd, and as Chris reached them, he looked directly at Jake, sizing him up with an intensity she had never seen before. "We need to talk," he said, the urgency in his voice punctuating the air. "Is everything okay?" Lily asked, her heart racing, aware of the curious glances directed their way. "No, it's not," Chris replied, glancing back at the crowd as if seeking an escape. "Mom called. She's worried about you, about all of this." His voice dipped lower. "About Jake, especially." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. She had no idea what Chris had told their mom, but she could guess. Their mother had always been protective, especially when it came to Lily's heart. "I can handle it, Chris. I've made my choice," she insisted, determination bubbling up even as anxiety clawed at her insides. "This isn't just about your heart, Lily," he pressed, looking visibly agitated. "What if something happens? What if it affects your future?" "What future?" She shot back, a hidden fierceness surfacing. "I can't just let fear dictate my life. What if I miss out on something amazing?" Jake's warm grip on her hand tightened, grounding her. She appreciated the reassurance, but could feel the chaos swirling around them. The crowd, once a source of strength, now felt like an audience watching a play unravel. Chris's voice lowered again, softer now. "You're the ball girl. You're supposed to be focused and balanced. What if this goes sideways? You could lose everything you've worked for." Jake moved a step closer, casting a protective look towards Chris. "Look, man, I'm going to prove myself. I'm not this mistake everyone thinks I am. I care about Lily, and I want to be the best for her." Chris's gaze shifted between them, weighing their resolve. "I want to be there for him, Chris." Lily's voice cracked with the weight of conviction. "I can't just walk away. I know the risks, but I refuse to hide. This is my heart." The conflict in Chris's gaze softened just a touch, but a flicker of frustration remained. "You think love will make everything easy. The reality is harsh." Lily swallowed hard, needing him to understand. "But it makes everything worth it," she replied. The sincerity behind her words was palpable, and she hoped it reached him. As Chris wrestled with his thoughts, the energy from the crowd surged, signaling a shift in the game. But this was more than a game. It was a crossroads. A battle of hearts, loyalty, and family ties. Suddenly, before they could continue, the loudspeaker boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement." Lily's breath hitched. She could feel Jake's tension beside her. Did they have what it takes to face whatever was coming next? "Remember," Jake whispered, "we face it together." Before she could respond, the announcer's voice rattled through the stadium, and the entire atmosphere shifted.
"Jake."
Lily suddenly realized, her heart stuttering. "What if they announced something about your injury?" His eyes widened, and for a brief moment, fear overtook the hope that had ignited between them. "Let us stay strong," he murmured. As the voice continued, the whole world narrowed down to just the three of them. Tension mounted, and Lily glanced back at Chris, who still wore a mixed expression of concern and fierce protectiveness. The moment of truth loomed ever closer. What revelation would echo throughout the stands? And how would it change everything for them? The announcer's voice boomed again, slicing through Lily's anxious thoughts. "We would like to take a moment to honor one of our local athletes whose journey has inspired us all." The crowd erupted into applause, but Lily barely heard it. Her heart raced as she reached for Jake's hand, squeezing it tightly. "What are they talking about?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Before he could answer, the announcer continued. "Jake Connors has faced adversity on and off the field. His recent injury brought him down, but it's his spirit and determination that have truly defined him." Lily's stomach dropped. This wasn't a typical celebration. It felt like an echo of everything they had been trying to avoid. On the big screen overhead, the camera zoomed in on Jake, capturing his wide-eyed surprise. Behind him, a dark cloud of uncertainty lingered. As the crowd cheered for him, boosts of adrenaline pulsed through Jake. Yet, she could sense the weight of all those eyes on him, the expectation on his shoulders. Lily watched his expression change from shock to a mixture of fear and something else resolve. And now, the announcer declared with palpable excitement, "We'd like Jake to join us on the field for a special tribute." A collective gasp ran through the stands. Lily felt the color drain from her cheeks. "Jake, you can't go out there."
"Not now."
He shook his head, determination hardening his features. "I need to do this, for myself, for you," he said, his grip on her tightening before releasing her. As he moved to the edge of the field, she felt abandoned for a second, a chill creeping in. But watching Jake stand tall, even with the uncertainty looming over him, stirred something deep inside her. She realized she wanted to fight for him too, just as he was fighting for himself. Chris stood by her side, watching with an unreadable expression. "You need to back him up. He needs you," he said, his voice steady. Before she could respond, the crowd grew silent, anticipation crackling in the air like static before a storm. Jake stood in the center of the field, nervously rubbing the back of his neck as the announcer approached him. "Jake, you've shown us what it means to overcome challenges," the announcer began. "But there's more to your story. We want to share the truth about your remarkable resilience and something else." Lily's heart raced. "What do they mean?" she muttered, but Chris didn't have the answer. Suddenly, the screen behind Jake lit up with photos of him, not just in practice but laughing with the team, and then there were shots of them together. Lily froze. They had captured their moments, their connection, memories Lily thought were only theirs. "Is this really happening?" she whispered, feeling everything inside her churn. He looked up as the announcer continued. "Alongside your journey, Jake has developed a special bond with someone here today. Lily Harrington, the ball girl who never stopped cheering for him. Jake, would you like to say a few words?" Lily's breath hitched. The cheers around her swelled again, but it sounded distant, almost surreal. Chris turned to her, bewildered. Jake stood frozen, glancing her way. The look in his eyes made her heart flutter. He was her anchor, even in this storm of emotions. Would he pull her into the spotlight as his support? Or would fear pull him away again? "Lily," she heard him say loudly as he raised a hand to signal for silence. The stadium quieted, all eyes on him. Together he began, and she felt the weight of the word resonate through her, lacing their shared hope with uncertainty. As he took a deep breath, the loudspeaker flickered and the lights dimmed slightly, creating a charged silence. What would he say? Would it redefine everything? The crowd leaned in, hearts collectively suspended in the moment. And just then, before he could continue, the stadium shook with an unexpected commotion, a blaring horn, and an urgent shout mounted over the crowd. Something was wrong. Something was about to change everything. Jake's eyes widened at the sudden ruckus. It felt as though the world around him had erupted into chaos, drowning out the murmurs of his thoughts and the heartbeat of the crowd. He turned slightly, scanning the stands, searching for the source of the disturbance. "Stay focused, Jake," shouted the announcer, his voice cutting through the murmurs. But the confusion was palpable now, spreading like wildfire. The crowd started to shift, uncertainty taking hold as people rose from their seats. Lily could feel her stomach twist. She squeezed her eyes shut for a brief second, trying to block out the surroundings. The world had felt so contained just a moment ago, but now it was spiraling out of control. Then, from the corner of her eye, she sighted a flash of red. A fire truck, lights blaring, slid into the parking lot just beyond the stadium. The loudspeaker crackled again, once more trying to regain order. "Please remain in your seats. Emergency personnel are on the scene." Jake hesitated, glancing back at her. He needed to decide. His moment wasn't just slipping away, it was being hijacked. The support he wished to show, the words that sat heavy on his tongue, hung in the air with frustration. Lily, heart racing, tore her gaze away from the chaos outside, grounding herself in Jake's intense stare. "You can still do this," she urged softly, stepping closer. "Just be yourself." "Yeah." But Jake started, uncertainty gnawing at his confidence, but she could see the moment he pushed through it. He straightened his shoulders, and she couldn't help but smile at his resolve. "I'm right here," she assured him, holding his gaze, hoping to lend him strength. And then, in an unexpected twist, the announcer called for a moment of silence as the fire truck's sirens faded. A hush fell over the stadium, a tranquility so stark it felt surreal amidst the prior tumult. Hearts synchronized in one collective breath. Jake's words finally flowed. "I didn't think I'd end up here, in front of all of you. I never asked to be anyone's inspiration." His voice was steady, each syllable carving a path through the thick air. "But through this journey," he continued, I found strength in those who were cheering for me the loudest, the ones who wouldn't let me fall. He cast a quick glance at Lily, and she felt herself light up, the warmth chasing away the angst that had settled there. As he spoke, he began to weave their story, his ups and downs, yes, but also the little moments that built the foundation of their connection. He described the kindness in her cheers, the way they kept his spirit alive. Lily wanted to cry. It felt overwhelming, being thrust into the spotlight, yet so beautiful in his acknowledgement. Suddenly, the sound of a low rumble caught their attention. A shadow loomed over the crowd. All heads turned. The fire truck doors swung open, revealing figures in bomber jackets rushing out, putting an abrupt end to the emotional wave Jake had just created. "Is everyone okay?" shouted a woman from the fire department, her voice breaking through the murmurs. "We need to clear the area." Reports of smoke from the parking lot. The panic returned in ripples through the crowd. Lily's heart raced again as she glanced at Jake. He looked equally uncertain, torn between the unfinished story he wanted to tell and the immediate threat unfolding. "Jake, what do we do?" she hitched, feeling helpless against the rising tide of chaos. He took a deep breath, looking into the sea of faces around them. "We need to make sure everyone is safe." The decision inflamed an already intense moment between them. It wasn't just about a tribute anymore, it was a matter of instinct and action. Jake began walking towards the sidelines, and without thought, Lily followed him. Together, they stepped away from the spotlight, ready to face whatever storm lay ahead. Together, she whispered to herself, echoing his earlier word, a mantra that gave her courage. But just then, someone from the crowd called out, "Look, the smoke." Lily's heart dropped again as she turned towards the rising plumes. The reality of the moment crashed down on her, making her wonder if they were really prepared for what was coming next. Lily's pulse raced as she turned, her eyes darting through the chaos. The smoke billowed in thick, dark waves, curling upward into the blue sky, tainting the day with an ominous shade. The panic in the crowd was palpable, a living, breathing entity all on its own. "Everyone stay calm," the fire chief shouted, pushing through the restless throng, directing people toward the exits. Reassurance tinged his voice, yet the urgency behind his words did little to settle the waves of dread washing over Lily. Jake's hand found hers, a grounding force amidst the chaos. It was a simple gesture, but it ignited something in her, a spark of hope, of determination. She squeezed his hand back, and together, they maneuvered towards the edge of the seating area. "Let us help get people out," Jake said, his voice firm now, laced with conviction. Lily nodded. Their moment of connection earlier felt like an anchor. They were in this together, no matter what. As they moved through the stands, urging people to stay calm, their route became a blur of faces, fear, worry, but also resolve. Jake shouted for everyone to keep their heads up and exit in an orderly fashion. "The exit is just this way," he called, leading the way. "Are you okay?" Lily would ask, checking in on those who looked close to panic. In turn, people responded with grateful smiles, quietly whisking away tears. Her heart swelled, filling with compassion. Behind them, the sirens of additional emergency vehicles grew louder, a haunting reminder of the situation's gravity. The thick smoke swirled and rolled, turning the bright day into a dim conflict of shadows and uncertainty. With each step away from the stands, Lily glanced back, a tension knotting her stomach. She wanted to be brave, she did, but the choking scent of burning rubber was draping over them like a heavy blanket. Then, from the crowd, a child's sob broke through the murmurs. "Mommy!" A small girl stood near the edge of the stands, her tear-streaked face searching for a familiar figure. Lily's heart shattered at the sight. Without thinking, she pulled Jake closer. "We have to help her." She was already moving before Jake could respond. They approached the girl, now sinking to her knees. "It's okay, sweetie. Where is your mom?" Lily knelt beside her, her heart racing as she scanned the crowd. She was right here." The girl cried, panic rising again in her tone. "She'll come back. We need to find a safe place together," Jake reassured, kneeling on the other side. His calm voice struck a chord with the girl, who nodded, but her fear remained tangible. Lily quickly spotted a nearby paramedic among the crowd. "Hey, over here!" She waved frantically. The medic rushed towards them, sensing the urgency in the air. "I found her alone," Lily explained breathlessly. "Can you help get her somewhere safe?" "Of course," the paramedic replied, crouching down to the girl's height. "You're going to be okay, sweetie. We'll find your mom." The girl nodded, taking shaky breaths as the medic wrapped an arm around her. A hint of calm crept into the chaos as the trio moved together. Lily couldn't help but look at Jake, a silent exchange passing between them. They were making a difference, one small act at a time. But the reality of the situation was still there, lurking like the smoke that threatened to envelop them. "Let us get to the exits," Jake suggested, gently nudging Lily forward. They were still surrounded by people, but they had already made strides towards safety. Lily recalled the warmth of his earlier speech, how he had enabled her to rise above her fears even when chaos erupted. As they pushed forward, she felt a sense of determination settle deep in her bones. But then, a boom echoed through the air, and Lily froze, eyes wide. The crowd gasped as a plume of flame shot skyward from the parking lot, lighting up the area with a sudden blaze. Heart racing, she turned to Jake, unsure of how to feel. What was happening? His grip tightened around her hand, terror and resolve etched across his face. "We need to move.
Now."
As the heat from the flames surged closer, Lily's mind raced. They were just beginning to rise above the darkness, but the newest threat loomed ahead. Would they make it out together? She glanced at him, courage battling fear in her heart. In that moment, everything was on the line. Would they forge ahead into the fire, or would this be the moment that changed everything? Lily's feet moved instinctively, her body following the sharp pull of Jake's hand. The panic surged in waves around them, people struggling to make their way to safer ground. The flames crackled, spitting embers into the air as if warning them not to linger.
"Come on."
"We can't hesitate," Jake called over the noise, urgency flooding his voice. He was a beacon in the chaos, and Lily focused on him, letting his determination guide her steps. They began to weave through the crowd, ducking and dodging as others pushed past. With every glance over her shoulder, the sight of flames dancing higher made Lily's throat tighten. Her heart thudded in her chest. The sweet girl in the medic's arms seemed further away now, fading into the throng of desperate faces. "Just keep moving," Jake urged, his eyes darting back to check on her, then forward again. They reached a larger pathway, flanked by paramedics and firefighters directing frantic spectators away from the danger. Lily felt a rush of hope. "We're getting out," she shouted, clenching Jake's hand tighter, as though the strength of their bond could pull them both through the inferno surrounding them. Suddenly, she spotted an elderly woman who had stumbled, dropping her cane. Fear flashed across Lily's mind. They couldn't help everyone, but something inside her insisted they had to try.
"Jake,"
she said impulsively, pulling him towards the woman. "What are you doing?" he asked, concern flashing in his eyes. "We can't leave her," Lily replied, her voice earnest. Without waiting for affirmation, she knelt beside the woman. Are you okay?" Lily asked gently. The woman, breathing heavily, looked up at her, wide-eyed with fear. "I can't get up," she murmured, tears of frustration glistening in her eyes. "Just hold on," Lily said, determination heeding her words as she grabbed the woman's arm. "We're going to help you. Jake, can you lift her?" Jake knelt down and carefully slid his arms beneath the woman, lifting her with surprising ease. Together, they moved as a unit, the three of them pushing through the crowd. Lily focused on the warmth of the woman, the fragility of her bones, and thought of her own grandmother. The flames roared behind them, feeding on anything they could catch. The smoke grew thicker as they hurried towards safety, urging others to clear a path. An explosion rattled the ground, sending a fresh wave of panic through the crowd. "Faster, come on," Jake urged, his voice straining. Lily felt the heat clinging to her skin, sweat pooling at her brow. The woman cried out as they stumbled forward, My grandson, I have to find him. They reached an entrance where paramedics were lined up, managing the flow of frightened families. Please help her, Lily shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos. Jake set the woman down gently beside a medic, who immediately focused on her. I'm going to take care of you now, the medic reassured the elderly lady, kneeling beside her. Lily and Jake turned, panting hard, only to realize the crowd was still a mass of chaos. The plaza ahead roared with flames. They stood together, hands still connected, hearts racing with the weight of disbelief. We can't stay here, Jake insisted, pulling her forward as smoke began to swirl around them more heavily. In the effort, Lily spotted the little girl again, standing alone, staring wide-eyed into the chaos. I can't leave her, Lily gasped, feeling the chains of compassion steal her breath away.
No.
Jake started, but Lily was already moving, determined to reach the girl once more. She couldn't leave anyone behind. She dashed forward. The heat of the flames behind her seemed to pulse, a fierce reminder of the urgency and the risks. The smoke squeezed the air from her lungs, but with each step, she felt a fire of her own igniting.
Lily, wait,
Jake called, but she couldn't turn back now. She had to believe they could all survive. The girl looked up just as Lily reached her, but the sound of another explosion rang out, and panic seized the little face. Lily's heart sank as the chaos seemed to close in once more. Could she reassure this frightened child? Could she help make it a little better, even for a moment?
Hey,
Lily yelled over the roar, kneeling down. I'm here. You're safe with me. Let us go find your mom. But when she turned to grab the girl's hand, her pulse quickened. The crowd surged, and a wall of smoke suddenly engulfed them. Lily's voice barely pierced through the obscuring haze. Panic started to claw at her heart. Was she losing everything she just fought for? Just as she fought through the fog, a glimmer of a familiar smile broke through her fears. It was Jake, focused yet determined, battling the chaos towards them. Together, Lily, he shouted, extending his hand, reaching into the nightmare with unwavering hope. Would they face this storm together, or would the chaos tear them apart? Would the flames take not just the event, but everything they had just built? Lily's heart raced as Jake's voice cut through the haze, igniting a fire within her spirit. She felt his hand grasp hers tightly, anchoring her in the midst of chaos. Together, she echoed, her voice trembling but resolute as she turned back to the frightened little girl. We'll get through this, I promise. Taking a deep breath, Lily pulled the girl toward her. Hold on to my hand, she encouraged, pulling her close as the smoke began to thicken around them, swirling like a tempest. She felt the weight of Jake's presence beside her, his fierce determination shining through the darkness. With each step they took, the choking smoke mixed with the sound of chaos, but they pushed through it, refusing to let despair consume them. Dylan's grip was strong, his steady presence like an unyielding shield against the fears that threatened to overtake them. Together, they journeyed forward, guided by the flickering strobe of emergency lights. As they emerged from the dense cloud of smoke, the world brightened momentarily. There was safety ahead. The roar of the crowd faded as the emergency personnel worked numberlessly to usher people away from the danger. Each face they passed held sparks of fear and uncertainty, but also quiet strength, the strength Lily needed in that penetrating moment. With a determined push, they broke free from the mass of onlookers, waving paramedics moving swiftly like dancers in a chaotic ballet. We're almost there, Jake shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony. They rushed toward an ambulance, the familiar scent of adrenaline washing over them. The little girl squeezed Lily's hand tighter, a mix of trust and reliance forming amid the firm awareness of the chaos that surrounded them. Is that your mom? Lily pointed toward a woman frantically calling her child's name. The little girl nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks as they rushed to the reunion.
Mom,
she cried, rushing forward. Within moments, the child was swept into her mother's arms, relief washing over both their faces like a cleansing tide. Lily watched the moment unfold, a flurry of gratitude filling her chest. The flames raged behind them, but here, under the wide sky, a miracle had occurred. The bond created in the furnace of fear transcended the chaos, solidifying for all. "Thank you. Thank you," the mother repeated, clutching her little girl tightly. Jake stepped close, his breath uneven but filled with awe. "You did that," he said, admiration sparkling in his eyes. "You were amazing, Lily." She felt her face flush with warmth, but his gaze held something deeper, vulnerability and appreciation weaving through their connection. In that moment, everything changed. "Let us keep moving," Lily urged, grabbing Jake's hand again, the heat still rising in the background but now overshadowed by their shared momentum. As they moved, Lily felt the quiet strength in each step, the resolve deepening between them. They reached an open area where the paramedics guided the startled crowd. "We're safe now," Jake whispered, and his voice carried a steady reassurance that quelled Lily's last lingering fears. The chaos around them began to settle, the tension smoothing like the final notes of a song. Behind them, sirens wailed, but here in the heart of the crisis, they found solace. As they turned to face the remnants of the catastrophe, Lily said, "See, we're stronger together." She felt the truth of her words lift her heart. No matter what happens next, we faced it together. Jake's eyes sparkled like melted gold, and he nodded, his voice steadying as he spoke. "I never thought I'd find someone who would stand by me like this." With the heat of the fire finally waning, they waded through the crowd, where people were connecting, embracing, helping one another. The game, the expectations, and the weight of the world slipped away, revealing something much more profound beneath the layers of fear. "Together, right?" Jake asked, looking deep into her eyes. "Together," she confirmed, smiling genuinely. "Whatever comes, we'll face it." And in that shared promise, they found a future that sparkled with hope. The fires of adversity had undergone their trial, forging a connection that neither doubt nor fear could extinguish. They were the authors of their destiny, and every moment was a chance to rise, fight, and discover who they were meant to be. As they walked hand in hand into a brighter tomorrow, one thought resonated deeply in Lily's heart. The true game has just begun, and they were going to play it together. Now, before you leave, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support and help us grow. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us keep this momentum going. I want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means the world.